Can't see, but you gotta give me
I would like to know, Larry,
Yes,
what your job is. What do you do for a living?
for a living.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the insurance industry. I'm a business person by
You do insurance. I
I do
probably
insurance,
missed the first part.
Yeah,
of it.
and I invest in real estate throughout Acadiana. I've been in business for myself for about 35 years now.
I can tell.
But, well,
I can tell. And you live where?
I live in New Iberia. I'm from New Iberia, originally from Generate,
Okay.
small community.
Okay. And I liked what you said about animals.
Animals.
I love animals. And I think animals have a right. They have a right to life,
Yes,
like any other thing. They don't have the right to kill people. We need to cage them.
that's right.
We need to cage people who kill people.
I agree.
Okay? Did that come around okay?
Yes,
That's
yes.
right.
Yes.
Okay. My husband was a smart man. He deplored, or he was very adamant about not having NAFTA when they started all that.
Correct.
I ate dinner many nights to NAFTA, what it was going to do, how it was going to hurt us.
Correct.
But men like my husband weren't listened to. It was more the brilliant politicians and the men who were smarter than him, so said, that he was not at all for NAFTA, although he tried to tell people. And right now, we got it coming right back around, NAFTA. Okay. I really don't have much else to say. You talked already. Okay. I heard you on TV. I liked what you did when you said, come on, young man or son, come on back. But I think you should have been a teacher. I think you should have been a teacher.
Teacher.
A teacher. I really believe that you missed your calling there. Were you ever a teacher? No.
No, ma'am. I mean, I've raised my children, and I think that was a joint learning experience. Sometimes they taught me.
Well, yeah, we did raise our children good. Okay. I have a grandson who is a policeman in Liberia. Right now, he's not the type of person that is afraid of things, but he says, I am living with the target on my back.
Yeah.
And I believe me, we feel for him, our family. We worry about him. And he did do some teaching, and he was good at it. I don't know that I have anything else to say. Does anybody else have anything else to say?
Can I respond?
What about these men? Do you have children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many?
I have 4 children, 3 living and 1 passed.
Okay. I have 3 children, 2 living and 1 passed. Okay.
Can I respond to something that you said a few minutes ago?
Well, sure.
I want to,
I wish you would.
yes, I would. You said something that really it touched my heart. I want to talk a little bit about pro-life. Oh, you okay? You good? Good. I want to talk a little bit about pro-life and what is pro-life? You know, I literally went through that over and over and over again in my mind, trying to figure out what is pro-life and what is pro-choice. And I finally figured it out. I finally figured out where I was on that issue. And to me, I am pro-life from the womb to the tomb. So that means from the time that that child is conceived until the time that child is placed, or that individual is placed in the grave. I believe it is our responsibility as human beings to be kind, to be understanding, and to be helpful. You see, I think the government is not an entity that lurks in the darkness somewhere. I think each one of you in here is the government. We, the Constitution says, we the people. We're the government. And so, you know, I am not going to legislate morality from Washington, D.C. when I go there as your next congressman. But what I will do, I will, in my household, not have anyone have an abortion in my household. Now, I can't say what's right for you. And I really don't like the fact that we have to choose. But that's just the way life is. You have to be on one side or the other. I am pro-life from the womb to the tomb, which means that I also do not believe in capital punishment. I don't believe in the death punishment. I believe that only God should take life, not you or I. Because sometimes, and we were talking about that earlier, sometimes you might get it wrong. You just take one time to get it wrong, right? Just one time. And there are extenuating circumstances in each of our lives that you may make a different choice. Even I may change my mind. I am entitled to change my mind if something else would happen in my life and I say, you know what, I'm not pro-life anymore, I'm pro-choice. But then that's just part of being a human being. So, you know, this thing about a lot of people say they're pro-life. If you want to be pro-life, then care about your fellow citizen. Care about the other part of your community. Because when one part of our community is hurting, it's like a cancer. It catches on. It's just a matter of time before it spreads to the other part. You see? So all of us together, we're whole. We're all in this together. And when you try to separate us and divide us any type of way, then it creates problems. And that's what's creating problems with the police department, the division that we see right now today. But I think I've had enough mic time. Clay, you want to address that? Or?
Whatever the gentleman said. Respectfully, the federal government is too involved in our lives. The federal government is too large. We're a republic of 50 sovereign states. Many of the suggestions regarding the path that our nation should take to address the challenges that we face call for spending money and growing the federal government. We're already spending too much money and the federal government's already too large. The closer we keep our money to home, the more efficient it is, the more effective it is. When we had our recent epic flooding, the 1,000-year flood they referred to it as, it wasn't the federal government that got us out of that. It was churches and the Cajun Navy and the Cajun Army. It was families coming together. It was a strong community. Every one of those dimes that was invested and collected by churches and families and small groups, it went straight to the people that needed it. Now, how much of that money do you think would have gotten? How long would it have took if we'd have sent it to D.C. and begged them for a little bit of it back? The federal government is too large and too involved in our life. Regarding energy, we all would like to have free and unlimited energy. I certainly agree with private endeavors to develop green energy, but I don't think the federal government should have anything to do with that, taking the people's treasure to develop something that geniuses and universities have not been able to come up with in their laboratories in colleges. I support coal, oil, and natural gas. Talking about the oil and gas industry. The value of a barrel of oil goes up and down, we know that. But over the last decade, the federal government has written hundreds of executive orders and enforced them through branches of the alphabet government, the fourth branch of government, which was never envisioned by the founding fathers and operate completely outside the parameters of constitutional control. The EPA, the DOE, the ED, etc. The list goes on and on. They devour the people's treasure and tread upon the people's freedoms. Russia, speaking of oil, the landmass of Russia spans 11 time zones. 11 time zones. 70% of its land mass is unexplored. Every time you turn around, you read about another vast discovery of natural gas on oil reserve. Deep sea drilling is just reaching a point now where they're discovering these vast reserves of natural gas and oil. I'm all for green energy. I've often thought, Larry, to agree with you, partner, that I don't know why every roof doesn't have solar panels on it. Seems to me that would be affordable by now. You know, where a regular fella building his house or having to replace your roof, we have to replace our roof on a pretty regular basis in Louisiana. And it seems to me like I've thought many times, partner, driving through across the country. I travel the country speaking to law enforcement agencies. And every time I look at a roof, I think it seems like there ought to be solar panels on it. So I'm not anti-green energy, I'm not anti-solar energy, but the lifeblood of our nation is oil, natural gas, and coal. Electric cars run on coal. Coal produces 60% of the electricity in our country. That's what these little electric cars plug into. When you plug in your electric cars, run on coal. 60% of it is. The other 40% is running on oil and natural gas. That's what powers the grid. So, although we're all very hopeful for a bright future, but we have free energy and green energy, the bottom line is what we need now is jobs. And these jobs are not going to be created inside Louisiana. You know, the guys that are out of work right now, 12, 15, 20,000, I have friends, man, suffering, doing anything they can do, working odd jobs to get by. Nobody's going to bring them, you know, to give them a ride to work at a plant that makes solar panels. That's a beautiful vision for the future. I concur. But we need jobs right now, and the federal government is in the way. Education. In my family, if you wanted to go to college, knock yourself out. Get yourself a job and pay for it, or join the military, let them pay for it. I ended up doing both. Somewhere, we have to begin to address the $20 trillion debt our nation faces. And this is difficult to envision for a regular fellow. Let's give it a shot. Let's say that next year, the thieves in suits that have seized power in Washington, D.C. would run a $1 billion surplus. $1 billion would it be? Meaning they spend $1 billion less of our treasure, because it is our treasure. Spend $1 billion less than they took in. A $1 billion surplus. Could you imagine the parties that throw for themselves, how they come back to their districts and their states, beating themselves on the back, what a wonderful job they did. They'd go to their country clubs and give themselves golf claps. Ladies and gentlemen, it would take 20,000 years of a $1 billion surplus to address a $20 trillion debt. Because a trillion is 1,000 billion, and a billion is 1,000 million. Now, amongst the patriots sitting in this room, is there a man or a woman here that thinks we have 20,000 years to fix this thing? No, sir. No, ma'am. It's going to call for courageous action now. Courageous action now by a constitutionalist patriot that's willing to bring the fight to Washington, D.C. Now, I will serve with love and respect to my fellow man, including my fellow, I tell you right now, I take bullets for this man because he loves his country, he's a patriot. He and I may disagree, but when men that love their country and have passion for solutions come together of varying ideologies, but with the common goal of reaching a true solution to move the nation forward, this is where advance is made. But that debate must be conducted with civility and decorum. We must be passionate about our beliefs. I'm passionate about my constitutionalist parameters. I'm passionate about my love for my fellow man, and yes, my other animals too.
I love you for that.
Yes. And I believe that we're at a crossroads in our nation. Why they're going to continue to fall, and we're going to become Rome or Greece, or we're going to stand this thing back up. So these are my thoughts about some of the things that have been discussed, and I'm quite sure that our gentleman and moderator will tell us what to do next. Again, I don't want to get fussed at. I have 6 sisters, which whenever a lady tells me something, I just say yes, ma'am, but I try not to get fussed at too much.
That's usually safe, by the way.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. Did you have another question?
Thank you.
Good to, good tonight.
My mind is always full of questions. I'd like to ask you, who are you running against? Who's running with you?
10 other people. Besides this
There's many men technically who qualify for the race, because on qualifying day, you know, the Libertarian Party guy and the Green Party guy and the Communist Party guy, they registered for the race, you understand, so that they can say they're a former congressional candidate, you know, for the Green Party or Libertarian Party or whatever. But regarding viable campaigns, there's one viable Democrat. He's sitting right here. He's a fine gentleman, and I've said as many times, I'll say it again. He's a gentleman that I'll never speak disparagingly of because he loves his country. So Larry Rader, he's the only viable Democrat in the race. There's Scott Angel, millionaire career politician. He's converted from Democrat to Republican. It's part of the gender machine, essentially. There's myself. I'm a street cop, working class guy, voice of the people candidate type fellow. There's Mr. Gus Rance, who's a gentleman that I admire, a successful businessman here from Lafayette, as a Republican. There's former Representative Brett Guyman, who's a respected conservative that had served in Baton Rouge for several years. He's out of Lake Charles. There's Lieutenant Colonel Ellison, a brilliant military career that mine pales in comparison to. A wonderful man and brilliant, successful businessman. And there's a wonderful gentleman, a beautiful soul, Grover Joseph Reeves, former ambassador. He's also in the campaign. So those, I think, would you agree, Larry, those are the viable campaign? There's more than that, ma'am, but we're the ones that are in it, you know, and fighting for it.
Okay, thank you very much. And who are your opponents? Same? Y'all are running against each other? Oh my, okay. Okay. You were talking about solar panels. Now, solar panel could be quite an industry, but do you think perhaps it would run some of our oil, coal, and other businesses out of business? Huh? Because right now, that's how we heat our houses, most of us.
I would say no, because if we, one of the problems we have in our nation is our grid. Our grid is not, it's a national security concern. The grid is a network of electrical conduits that carry electricity across our country. It's segmented by region, and there's some levels of protection built in. You know, again, it's a matter of national security. But the stronger the grid is, the more secure our nation is. The more secure our nation is, the more efficient the grid is, the more efficient and effective small businesses can operate, the more dependable electrical power will be. And the oil and gas, natural gas and oil, is a worldwide market now. Now, just recently, earlier this year, the federal government lifted a 40-year ban on the export of oil. I think that was a step in the right direction. I think the federal government can do more to get out of the way of the oil and gas industry. I, for one, would review the 100 or so executive orders that have been written that I believe represent the boot on the throat of the oil and gas industry, who's wearing that boot? The federal government. But I believe, ma'am, to answer your question, that an enhanced electrical grid, which if you have solar panels, and listen, I'm no scientist, it just seems to me that solar panels hadn't changed that much in 40, 50 years, but everything else has. You know what? It doesn't make sense to me that solar panels are not very affordable now. Seems like you ought to be able to go buy them, you know, at Lowe's when you're replacing your roofing on your house. It ought to be built into somehow, you know, the roofing material. But that's just not the case right now. We're talking about the future. Should that happen, that would enhance and improve our electrical grid. This would make it more efficient for small businesses to operate. It'd be good for our national security because it'd be more difficult to injure that grid from a nation that would wish us harm. Right now, if they can shut down our grid, we'd be in a bind because we wouldn't have access to our money. A lot of things were shut down. And you see what happens when there's a hurricane, when we're without electricity for a couple of weeks or something like a big flood. You know, we get in a bind quick. So if the grid, if our national grid is strengthened by, should we ever develop these solar panels where they're affordable and regular Americans can have them, then it would improve our grid and thereby our national security. I think we found something we agree on right there, lad, don't we?
You have another question?
I, like many in this room, really don't know that much about solar panels. I think I'm going to go study about them now and find out how much they cost, who puts them in the area, and how much money it would save having a solar panel. I don't even know if a solar panel would keep us warm in the wintertime, or they don't have anything to do with our electricity, do they?
Yeah,
It's all
they
from the sun.
basically, they convert the sun's energy into electrical power through a solar battery, and you actually feed that back into the grid, so it can decrease your electric bill. And if you have enough solar energy, you can actually end up getting a check back from the electric company. But it's just so expensive right now, and perhaps the day will come when it's not. And I would applaud that day, but it's not here now.
I see, okay. I really don't have anything else to say, except that I'm so glad you gentlemen are here tonight. If you hadn't come to speak to us, I would have not have known who you are, and neither would a lot of other people here. So, on top, for everybody, I say thank you for being here.
Why don't you keep that thing under the speed limit now?
I'm going to have Larry here, our other speaker, talk about those panels. He's done a bit of research, I believe, on it, and maybe have some thoughts that you may have need to know.
Okay, I'm not going to take up a lot of your time. I know it's sort of getting late, but I want to explain a few things to you about solar panels, since it's my idea. One of the things about solar panels that a lot of people are not aware of is that they last a very, very long time. Very, very long time. We used to utilize them offshore in the offshore industry. We utilize them on what we call satellite platforms. And they lasted, they controlled a beacon that went off at night. And they last a very, very long time. Besides, you know, getting bird droppings on them, you have to make sure the glass is clear so that the sun could actually hit the device properly so that it can produce electricity, which it is stored in the battery. But here's the thing. Sometimes when you have technology, you only have a small portion of it. You don't have the entire, you're not making a complete thought when you do something. Now here's my complete thought on that, because you need to know that solar panels will be put up on your homes, and this is how it's going to cost less, because we're going to utilize individuals that's in the judicial system to make them. Just like they make light bulbs in Texas, they're going to make solar panels here in the 3rd Congressional District. And what that's going to do is going to do a couple of things. Number one, is going to teach these young guys how to work and do something. It's going to give them a trade that they'll be able to utilize once they get out of the judicial system. You see, prison is not for punishment. It's to be rehabilitated. And a lot of these guys that's going into prison, they're going there because of poverty. They don't have a job. And when you have poverty, if you look at anywhere in America, anywhere in the world where there's poverty, there's going to be crime. So my thinking is, from a business standpoint, you just don't address one issue. You have several little small factors that go in there to complete that circle of thought, to make it complete and make it work. And that's the way we're going to make solar panels inexpensive. And that's how it's going to be able to go up on your home and save you money. Now, will it pay your entire light bill? I'm not sure if it's going to do that. I can't sit here and tell you it's going to pay your entire light bill, but it's going to save you money. And why is it important that you save that money? It's important that you save that money. Here comes that complete circle again of thought. Because it's going to stimulate the economy. The money that you save, you're not going to put it in a savings account. What are you going to do with that money?
Go shopping.
You're going to go to Walmart. Thank you. I think he has a
Go
question.
shopping.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Larry. Richard, did you have something?
I do.
Come on up. I'm glad to see you came.
I'm getting old.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
I had a thought, actually. I don't pay too much attention to television when people are running so much those things, but I saw, who are you taking his place? Bustani.
Charles Bustani?
Charles Bustani had an ad, and if I remember correctly, it was that he had voted 64 times against the Affordable Care Act. And I got to thinking, well, what the heck did he vote for? What did he do? So my question to both of you gentlemen are, so we talked a lot about who you are and what you like and so forth. What committees would you like to be on? That's the first part. And then the second part was, can you work across the aisle? Is ideology bigger than the country? You know, what you stand for is bigger than governing. We need more cooperation. We've had it, and I think part of the reason that people are disgusted with the Congress is the fact that nothing gets done. And it doesn't get done because ideological positions, you know, it's got to be this way or nothing. And anyway, that's my two questions, and I'd like you all to address it.
Okay, great. So good questions, Clay. But could have the mic for a moment here. I think I have a history of working with people. I own a business. You have to work with people when you have a business. You have to. If you don't, you're not going to be in business long. And I've been in business for 30-something years. So I think I have a history of working with people. As president for the Port of Iberia, I am the only minority there. Well, I think there's one other guy they brought in. But I have that unique ability to work with anyone. It matters not to me. As long as I feel in my heart that you're working for the right purpose. Now, when you're working to do things that's not right, I have to sleep at night. And when I lay down, I always rest good. And I'm not going to allow anybody to interfere with that. I'm not taking any money from anyone. I'm self-funding my campaign, and we're doing extremely well by doing it that way. And I plan to continue that when I go to Washington. Let me tell you, I believe that an idea is good as long as it's discussed and as long as people agree with it. But there are times when I come up with ideas and people say, no, that's not, I don't think it's the time. You all wouldn't believe this, but the same stuff that I'm talking to you tonight, I've been talking about this for a very, very long time, and I haven't given up. I know that fossil fuels is bad for our environment. I know that. The oil spill that happened, I was in a small community that's driven by the fishing industry. Okay, and this one guy was working in the oil industry, and he had lost his job, and he took all this money and invested it in a boat, hundreds of thousands of dollars in a big boat. And the flood, the fresh water came, and you know, fresh water and shrimps don't go good together. This is his first season. So his boat's parked, and we talking at the dock. He said, Larry, I can't get any help. I said, what do you mean you can't get any help? He said, I can't, FEMA won't even help me. I said, well, why not? I don't understand that. He said, because we're not part of that industry that they help. Well, we help the sugarcane farmers. And I think the fishing industry is probably just as important as our farmers. And those are the type of issues that I will be firm with in my belief when it comes to people and receiving their fair share or their fair shake. I'm firm when it comes to that. I think fair is fair, right is right, and I believe wrong is wrong. And so that's what I stand for. And I've done this all my life, and it's put me where I am today. You know, like I came from humble beginnings, but I'm not there where I was, but I've lived there. But I'm doing extremely well for myself because I feel I do what's right, and when you do what's right, good come back to you. And I don't know, what was the other part of your
The
question?
thing about governing, as opposed to totally sticking with ideology or your ideas, but in the past, the government worked well because Republicans and Democrats would propose bills, and they may get 80% of what they wanted, but they consider that a victory.
Yeah.
And now it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
And
right.
a good governing takes
Yeah.
both.
Yeah,
It takes
it does.
liberals
I
and
agree.
conservatives.
Well, this is a promise that I can make to you tonight. I am not going to Washington to shut the government down. I think that's foolhardy to do that. And anybody that does something like that is telling you basically, you don't count and you don't matter. So I'm not going to Washington to shut the government down. I am going to Washington to work and get things done for the 3rd Congressional District. And if I have to kind of, you know, you can't have it all your way, you can't have it all. But I think the things that I am asking for, I don't need congressional approval. It's not because I'm smart. It's because the solar panels, that program already exists today. You're not receiving it because of who was your congressman. He didn't allow it. So, yes.
And just one other
Well, you
thing I
can
wanted
still
to
buy a
add.
panel if you want to pay for
That's
it.
not.
I wanted to ask it, one thing.
Whatever you're saying is gonna be totally edited out because it will not come through properly. So can you repeat the question so that we'll have that on?
Okay. What's your question, Richard?
Simply, which committee, if you had a choice right now, would you like to serve on?
So-
and
so-
what would your reason be?
So the question is what committee would I prefer to serve on if I would be a congressman in Washington, D.C.?
Right.
That's an easy one, the Energy Committee. and it's common sense is why I would want to be on the Energy Committee because of the things that I would like to get accomplished. You know, solar panels are available now, but they're available with a tax credit that's been removed by the state. And that tax credit needs to come back. That was the only way it could be affordable. That's the reason why we need to get some of these young guys involved in making these solar panels to make them affordable so they could be placed on your roofs so you could save money. Okay, thanks.
Right.
The Budget Committee and the Ethics Committee. The federal budget is unethical. Your treasure is stolen by career politicians who no longer represent our interests. So to answer your question, sir, which committees would I like to serve on? Because committees exist in the manner that they do, which is not historically, it hasn't always been the case, you understand. There was a time when healthy debate was conducted in the halls of power of Washington, D.C. without the existence of committees. And there's a certain school of thought that believes that the power of these committees that do business in essentially close, a lot of the business is conducted behind closed doors, has removed some of the transparency from government and created an atmosphere wherein corruption and greed and graft can take place, which is certainly happening in Washington, D.C. So I can't go back in time and undo the fact that committees have become as powerful as they are. But the two committees that I would focus on being on would be budget and ethics. Now, to work across the aisle, my very existence is working across the aisle. I love this man. He and I would line up the many areas where we disagree. We'd find the area where we agree and we'd start from there. And we'd begin. And we would have healthy debate, yes. And we wouldn't always agree, no. But we would agree on our love and respect for each other. We would find the places where we have the same vision for accomplishment, and we develop a means by which to move the country forward. This is how debate should be conducted in the halls of power. This is the respect and decorum that is so horribly absent at this time. And I believe that Larry and I would bring that kind of representation should we ever have the chance to work together in Capitol Hill. So I hope that answers both of your questions, sir.
Thank both of you for all the questions, all the answers, the questions that have been repeated up here. We appreciate that very much. And I want to thank both of you for being with us.
Thank you,
I think a round of applause is certainly. I'd like to just also let you know on the 7th of November, 2 weeks from now, or 2.5 weeks, I'm not sure, we're having a speaker, Harold Shuffler, which you heard that we still having the I-49 connected discussion. There's been a suit involved, and we're going to try to have Kobe, which is a chamberman here in Lafayette, supposed to be. I talked with him today. He's supposed to appear, as well as the engineer with the state. So we appreciate if you mark your calendars and hope to see you guys on the 7th of November, the day before.
Just 1 second,
Come
if
right
I could add.
Yes, sir.
I'm such a terrible politician.
I always forget that we have these, what do we call these, push cards? Yeah?
I think so.
I think that's what they call it.
Right. There's one at your table. My website is on there. I have written, in my own words, many typed pages addressing many of the challenging issues that we face as a nation. And I'm in black and white. And there's something like 20 typed pages. Every word is mine. So we've discussed many issues here tonight. Some of them are on my issues page, every one of them in fact. And so I encourage you to go to my website, captainhiggins.com, and read the issues. Now, I'm an accessible man. I've had the same phone number for 14 years. It's 337-319-1724. If you send us a message and ask for Captain Higgins' phone number, you're going to get it if you don't want to jot it down. But what I'm going to ask is, if you disagree with one of my issues, if you've got a passionate opinion that differs from mine, please reach out to me in some manner by email or through Facebook or through our website, or call me on the phone or send me a text and talk to me. This is how we should move forward as a nation. I know Larry agrees with that. I'm so bad, I always forget to mention my push cards. Thank y'all. Please take one home with you.
Okay, Clay, thank you so much, Clay. I appreciate working with you, and I look forward to working with you again in the future. I think we had a good spirited and healthy conversation and debate here. One of the issues that I would just like to clarify before we leave tonight, I want to talk a little bit about the federal debt, that trillion dollar debt, and why we have that trillion dollar debt, and what could we do to eliminate that trillion dollar debt. Here's the thing, that 1% at the top is not paying a fair share of the taxes. As a business person, I pay 35, and we got business people in here, 35 to 38% of taxes. That's what I pay. That's where I am. And we have some people that's making millions of dollars, and they're paying about the same amount of taxes as a secretary. Now you tell me that's fair. Is that fair? So as long as we allow the tax system to be lopsided the way it is, where the middle class is paying all the taxes. Listen, those that's not middle class and below, they're not paying any taxes at all. So the only person who can pay taxes is the middle class and the upper class. The upper class is not paying their fair share. I own stock, and like I told you, I do well for myself. And compared to my business, I pay less taxes in the profits I make from stock than what I do from the profits I make from my business. Way less, over half. Now, you know, I'm investing money. Maybe a few $100,000 here and there. But what about that guy that's making millions? How much is he getting away with? And he needs to pay his fair share. So that's how we're going to pay for a lot of stuff. And that's how we're going to lower the national debt. Because once we start giving you a tax break, you're going to spend that money, you're going to stimulate the economy, and it's a big circle. You know, and most economists, those individuals that I have spoke with, agree with the theory. It works. My name is Larry Rader, and I'm number 43 on the ballot. Don't leave out the voting booth without pressing number 43. Thank you.